Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Unfortunately, many times in politics, appointments are made by connection based on friendship, loyalty, I scratch your back, you scratch mine, and not necessarily on the expertise of that particular person that will be appointed, for instance, as a head of a certain department. Now, the thing with when you get democratically elected, that's a different story. You have to, show that you're the best, whatever the audience you're targeting, and they might vote for you. And when you get in the office, obviously you do your own thing because that's how we are trained. If you look around us, most politicians, when they get in office, they forget why they're over there. They consider themselves leaders and not mere representatives of the public or public servants. Now, in this article that I have here, that I will feature in this video, actually I have two related, have to do with the current president-elect of Brazil, Lula da Silva, which after reading his bio, I can definitely conclude that he was a communist and most likely is a communist. And if you don't believe me, just read his biography and you will definitely find a lot of Marx over there. We will find some Che Guevara over there. You will find some Fidel Castro over there. You can find some so-called social democracy, socialism, and others, left wing and so on. Anyway, don't believe me. I hope you don't believe me. Just go and do your own research and you're going to find out. Well, it's okay. I mean, communists come, communists go. The problem is he is the president-elect of Brazil. He was elected by the Brazilian electorate. The problem is theirs, not mine. And the problem is that this problem tends to expand. As you know, Brazil is a very important South American country, not only as a surface, but also its population and resources. It has more than 200 million people. It's very rich in resources and potential. And Brazil is a member of BRICS. BRICS is an organization of emerging economies, developing economies. And there are 5 countries. The ones that are the main countries in BRICS is Brazil, India, South Africa, China, and Russia. So that's 5. And they set up a bank. And with this bank, they try to compete against the other TICs, which is the IMF and World Bank, the 2 American-related little weasels that lend money internationally. So International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. So BRICS will need a head, a chief. And Brazil, this Lula, will try to push his candidate, which is another communist. And this, unfortunately, is the former president of Brazil. No, not Bolsonaro. That won't happen. The other one. The one that actually was impeached for some financial fraud. So it's kind of like impossible. You put a corrupt police officer in charge of the police department or something. An officer that was convicted, charged, convicted, did time, and then gets out and you appoint him in charge of the police department. Or you want to appoint that person. I looked in her biography as well, and I found that she was actually a revolutionary for the Marxist cause. She's a Marxist. Now she says she's a pragmatic capitalist. You know what I mean? So she's pragmatic capitalist. But all her life she was a Marxist. She belonged to a Marxist, they say different names, Workers' Party, People's Party, Socialist, Social Democracy. Now let's see what's going on over here. If she becomes somehow the head of the BRICS Bank, I don't know, maybe it's a good thing, but also it's a bad thing. Let's analyze this situation here. All right. So this article comes from Reuters, and it's from today, February 16th, 2023. Brazil's Lula wants former President Rousseff to run new development bank. Now, I did my research on her. I looked at her parents and so on. She has some Bulgarian roots as well. So anyway, this is the lady. And we have another article here. This comes from I-24 News, which says, impeached Brazilian President Rousseff, the same person, to head BRICS Bank. So I said, what's going on here? So she was impeached because some little financial problems. So let's see. Dilma, that's her name, Dilma Rousseff, has not held a public office since 2016 when she was impeached from the country's presidency. Former Brazilian President Dilma Rousseff was nominated by incumbent President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva to head the New Development Bank, NDB. The bank is part of the BRICS, an organization formed by Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, headquartered in Shanghai, China. The NDB has an investment portfolio of around $32 billion and aims to finance works for clean energy, energy efficiency, water, sanitation, environmental protection, and transport, social, digital infrastructure projects in emerging countries' economies. As of now, the institution has already approved the financing of over 100 projects around the world, including the Beijing Gas Emergency Reserve and the Rajasthan Water Restructuring Project in India. So, if confirmed, she is expected to receive a salary of $55,500 a month, this lady. All right, now let's see. Brazilian, so she was impeached from the country's presidency due to fiscal responsibility, crime during her tenure. So that's why she was, for a financial problem, and she's gonna be, at least they try to push her, Lula tries to push her, his friend, the communist friend, into being the chief of NDB. She was held responsible for one of the worst economic crises that affected Brazil. I guess communism doesn't work, but they still try. With a 14% unemployment rate, a deficit of about $530 billion, and an inflation of 27% during her period as president of Brazil. Now, her party mates, including President Lula, still denounce her impeachment as a coup, despite the legal confirmation by the Supreme Court. The protests against her between 2014 and 2006 were the country's largest, with millions filling the streets of Brazil's 5 regions and pro-impeachment crisis. He will be probably heading you in the same direction. Where is he? And this one right here. This guy is going to get you in the same location. Why? Because they follow the same stupidity of communist ideology. And I haven't seen that working. Don't give me China, because China is not a communist country. It has a communist party, one party, but it has a capitalist system and investments. If the investments go away, I don't know how long China could stay on its own legs. That's my assessment, good or bad. And I think it's good, because usually that's what happens. So let's see what she did. Here we have, so she was impeached, and what can you do? Let's go in the other article here and see what do this one do. So the same thing, they want to head the new development bank when there is a vacancy. So Rousseff, a member of Lula's leftist Workers' Party, succeeded him in the presidency in 2011 and won re-election 3 years later, but ended up impeached in 2016 during harsh recession on charges of manipulated budget accounts. And you want her to lead the bank. Now, the thing with this is like this. Sometimes you want to have a crook in charge of a police department, because the crook might know the in and outs of the crooks. But you don't know if the crook is cured. Maybe the crook is still a crook. That's the problem here. Maybe, you know, she being a, how should I put it, with a criminal history? She did time, I think, like 8 months or something. She was impeached out or something. So anyway, she knows how hanky-panky works. So maybe she changed. I think she's not like 20, so she can change whenever. I think she's kind of old anyway. And I looked over her, as I said, one of the areas right here. And you know, I found all kind of information just to start with. All right. But what can you do? This is the problem with early life. And if you look at the early life, you're going to find education. You're going to find a lot of Brazilian Socialist Party, for instance. That's a different story. And you're going to find, as I said, a lot of Fidel Castro, Che Guevara, guerrilla activity. She went right here. You find Marxists. All right. You find all kind of socialist ideology, Marxist, obviously, ideology, all kind of Brazilian Communist Party. This was her boyfriend or something. But she, and then Revolutionary Armed Vanguard, Palamares, and then she was, I think, imprisoned, arrested. What can I tell you? She's a revolutionary. She said she's a revolutionary. So, I don't know, political positions right here. She said, although she states that her political thinking has changed drastically from Marxism to pragmatic capitalism, she remains proud of her radical roots. Well, you can be proud, but we can also look around, you know what I mean? And so this is the person who would like to head a bank. It's not my money, but I would be, if I would be the Russians or Chinese or Indians, I would be very concerned with her, you know, biography. As I said, things sometimes you change, you know, you get some nuances, but I don't think she's good news. That's my assessment. But what I want to say is, this guy, a leftist, appoints or wants to appoint a leftist, or both revolutionary, both with the same roots, both running around with the same people, and they want to get into BRICS. Are they gonna, yeah, because it's the BRICS banks, development bank. I don't know, maybe they're gonna run it down in the ground like they did. And I'm expecting, I don't want that to happen, but I'm expecting Lula to do the same thing because I think he goes by the wrong ideology. He has a wrong start. I mean, instead of running that way, when here's a line, you start line, instead of starting running that way, he's running back. I can't reach the end because that's over there, not over there. So I think he just from the very beginning turns around and gets it in the wrong direction. And unfortunately, he has the power, but the power was vested in him by the people, by democratic process. But he tries to get her, pass it over there, not necessarily by a democratic process, by his own friendship or whatever. Do you think that she's the most capable person? Maybe that's the only one he knows. I don't know. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Concerning, stay strong, stay smart. The same thing works with Biden and others. So it's not only these guys. These guys have a different kind of weasel attitude. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just, my friends.